fit under my microphone.
Well, you are smart.
Do you want me to go put some out?
You can set it up.
So, all you need to do is watch. So, this is what you're going to be watching streaming. We're actually streaming right now, but I'm going to cut it off. You just have to make sure that what you're looking at here is what is being broadcast. Every now and then, sometimes it'll do like that, which means it's only showing that. So, you just have to wind it back out.
Gotcha.
It has an automated thing that it just does that sometimes. So it's more just keeping an eye on it than anything. So it's pretty simple. Good morning, Miss Sandra.
That's how we found out.
I didn't actually have actual jackets. You can't see Charmaine. You should have went to Charmaine and went to Bulldog School, and then you should have watched me perform. Yeah, I was performing on a stage. It's cute, right? I know, because they have fur. Take one of them. If I buy a Coke, my mom's going to drink it. Oh, yeah. You think if you're born? When you were here. You were from.
Thank you. better. We got it. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
You sang Let It Be? Oh, okay. Hey, Tony. How's it going?
This Stevie
How's
Weavy.
it going? All right.
Ready to sing, Stevie?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. Where's our celebrities at?
They'll hear it.
Can you hear me?
I need a little more volume on that.
Testing one. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's. That's the handheld. You can hear me? Is it on? Okay. Alright. Oh, you want to dance? Do you want a mic? You do? Do you want a mic?
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Join hands, start a love train, people all over the world. Join hands, start a love train. The next stop that we make will be England. Tell all the folks in Russia and China too. Don't you know that it's time to get on board and let this train keep on riding on through. Come on, y'all. People all over the world, yeah, join hands, start a love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train. And all of your brothers over in Africa. Tell all the folks in Egypt and Israel too. Please don't miss this train gas station. 'Cause if you miss it, I feel sorry for you. People all over the world, yeah, join hands, start a love train. People all over the world, join hands, People all over the world, join hands. Start a love train, people all over the world, join hands. Start a love train, people all over the world, join hands. Start a love train, people all over the world, join hands. Start a love train. Come on, y'all, get on board. People all over the world, join hands. Start a love train, people all over the world. So take just a moment, y'all, and say hello to your spiritual family with some hugs and handshakes. Good morning, everybody.
Here you go. Let me tell you why.
All right, let's get on that last time. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a beautiful day here in New Orleans, Metairie area. How's everybody doing today? That was a nice long meet and greet. It was fun hugging on everybody. So, welcome to Unity of Metairie. I'm Jack Fowler, the spiritual director. I'm so glad that you are choosing to spend your morning with us here with our wonderful, loving spiritual family. Unity is a magnificent community around the world that supports all religions, all lifestyles, all spiritual paths. We believe that wherever you are, God is present. Church is within our homes, within our hearts this morning. And so we welcome everybody also that's watching us on Facebook. Give a big woohoo! So we know that wherever you are this morning, and we're jealous as you sit with your pajamas and your coffee, but wherever you are, we know that God is with you as well. And we sure hope that you can feel at least a little bit of the love that is within the walls here. And we'd love to have you come and see us sometimes at 10:30. And I want to mention to everybody also, remind you that we have a wonderful youth program. Anyone that's watching today that you have kids, you'd love to get them on a great start with these life-affirming principles. Bring them with you as well at 10:30 on Sunday morning. So let's all just take a deep breath and get centered in. Just feel the love and the gratitude of being here with our spiritual family, knowing that we have the choice. No matter what we feel about our country and the elections and all of that stuff, we have the choice to believe what we want to believe without repercussions, and to love and to have our own spiritual path. We have the freedom to do that as we celebrate this beautiful Veterans Day, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but we're grateful to everyone that has given of themselves to make sure that we stay free, a democracy, a place that we are welcome to be who we are. And so it is. So anybody here for the very first time? Do we have any newcomers here? No? All right. Well, that's fine and good. I always like to mention to everyone that's watching us, if you would like to get one of our packets that I have here, as you see, it gives some information about what Unity is about.
If you'd like to have one of these, you're welcome to leave your name and address in the comment section, and we will mail this out to you. Or if you have any questions, or anyone, if you ever have any questions about unity, about what we stand for, believe in, or if you even just want to call and chat about the weather, just give us a shout or an email or a text or a Snapchat or a Facebook or a Instagram, whatever your thing is. I actually lost count after Snapchat. I was like, I can't keep up anymore. So once again, let's just all just breathe in, just feeling grateful for being here. If you would take a moment, go ahead and silence your cell phone so we can create a sacred space together as we begin to let go of all of our thoughts, our ideas, allowing ourselves to relax and becoming still. We're here this morning to turn our thoughts inward, realizing that within us there is a magnificent power greater than anything else in this world. We are here to remind each other of our magnificence. We are here to see the presence of Christ in each other. So for that, we say thank you, God, for this time together, knowing that this group of people in this space, in this time, will never, ever happen exactly like this again. So this is a holy, sacred, unique moment orchestrated by Spirit. And with that, our hearts are filled with gratitude, knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. All right, we got some kids here. I see all excited in the front. Our girls, man, weren't they singing good this morning? They were awesome. These two beautiful ones. During our service, tradition, as we always do, is we give them a blessing before they go back to the youth program. And just a reminder, as always, that any children around the world, may we send this energetically to them. They don't have to be present within this room to feel our love, to feel us sending out an energy. May they know that there's a power within them, that no matter what their circumstances are in their life, no matter what is happening with them, may they even at a young age realize they have the power within them to choose. They have the power within them to know who they are as blessed, beloved expressions of life. And so for these two here, let's say this blessing together. Children of light, we bless you. We see you loved, guided, and protected by God's presence. Of course, New Orleans style, we love you hard, hard, hard. We swear to God. All right, y'all. I think we'll do that. Awesome. Once again, let's just all take a big deep breath, becoming centered. As best you can, begin to bring all of your energy here and now, letting go of any thoughts, concerns. The past is now over. The future is ahead of us and not here. The only moment we have is this holy, precious moment right here and right now. And so, as best you can, bring all of your energy and attention and focus to this room, to this place, as we open our hearts, listening to the thoughts from our daily word.
Today's daily word for Sunday, November 11th, 2018, is freedom. I am free through the freedom of spirit. The words in the prayer for protection were originally penned by James Dillard Freeman during World War II years for those in the armed services. Today, I use these words to bless all who serve and all those who have returned to civilian life. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am grateful for all those who have been given of themselves, that I might freely be able to make my choices in life. I celebrate my freedom by valuing it and using it wisely, making decisions that bless others as well as me. I am free through the freedom of spirit. Scripture for today is taken from 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom.
We take these beautiful words as we hear our prayer of protection that we say. May we listen to these words deeply, as sometimes we have prayers and ideas that we say so many times that they lose their meaning. May these words remain relevant and important to us as our cornerstone of remembering that God is always with us, always protecting us, always taking care of us, always leading us in the right direction, even if it doesn't look that way. There is a magnificent force in the invisible, a loving presence that always guides us. And so as we move into a deeper time of prayer meditation, I would invite you to continue to relax. If you choose, put both feet flat on the floor, just becoming still. We take time during our service to move into the stillness and into the silence, because that's where our true nature rests and lies. Who you really are is something that cannot be seen. It can only be known, can only be felt. It is the very presence of God that is within you. For in truth, you were created in the image and likeness of God itself. You have all of the qualities, all of the power, all of the creative abilities. Sometimes we forget, and we worry, and we doubt. We put self-imposed limitations upon ourselves. And we move into the silence as a reminder that within us there is a power greater than anything in this world. There is a place within you in the stillness where nothing is impossible. There is a place within you that knows nothing of dis-ease, that knows nothing of death, that knows nothing of sorrow. There is a place within you that is only joy, only happiness, only life. This, your true, essential self. The only thing about you that is real. For everything you see in this world, including your body, will fade away. It is all temporary. But within you, there is something that is eternal and powerful and joyful, timeless, ageless, forever safe, forever loving, forever loved, held in the hands of grace. And so we reach into the stillness to reconnect with this, our true, vital, essential self. We only find this essential self when we allow our bodies to become still and our minds to let go of that incessant thought that is always there running through our minds, distracting us from the magnificent inner world that is there. So I invite you to just relax, feel your body completely surrender to this moment. And just slowly pay attention to your breath as you breathe in deeply. Watching your breath. Focusing on your breath. May become a mantra. A place to look within. As you feel your body relax, let your shoulders gently drop, releasing all tension. Completely centered here and now. And as you continue to breathe and your body relaxes and surrenders to this moment, take time to look and see what's there in your mind, what thoughts may be there. Begin to think about what you're thinking about. As we realize how many thoughts just continually pop up and are there that distract us. Realizing that we also have the power to look within and allow our minds to become still and quiet and empty and open. For there's a gap between your thoughts. Emptiness. Nothingness. This is where miracles happen. This is where transformation happens. In that sacred, silent space between your thoughts and the emptiness and the blessed silence and the stillness. Here you come face to face with your true essential self. Spirit, whole, perfect, complete. Completely surrendering to the silence and the stillness. Allowing yourself to become empty. Empty. Still. Silent. And from this sacred place of stillness, I say thank you, God, for reminding us that we are always held in the hands of grace. And no matter what has happened in our lives or where our journey has taken us, that we are still exactly as you created us, in beauty, in wholeness, in love. So once again, breathing in the very presence of life, we say thank you, God, and so it is. Good morning. You all look so pretty today. Everybody's kind of frisky today. And of course, you don't have to give my weekly cat report. Anybody else have animals that are really frisky right now because of the cool weather? My little Oliver and Maggie were all over the place this morning. Well, since yesterday, they've been wild. But the good thing about it is when they are wild like that all during the day, they sleep well. Because my little Oliver, my little bad boy, loves to plunder in the night. He would have made a good pirate kitty. Right when I'm almost fast asleep, the plundering begins. So this weekend we celebrate Veterans Day, and I always like to acknowledge these special times because in society and in our world, which is so filled with consumerism and shopping and all these things, sometimes these holidays become about things that they really aren't. And a lot of times people think Memorial Day is a time to have a picnic, or whatever, or go to the beach, and all that's really good. But today we celebrate a very special day of Veterans Day, which honors everyone that's ever served in our military, which is very different from Memorial Day. Of course, Memorial Day is a time in May when we honor those who have lost their lives in service. So, does anybody know how long Veterans Day has been around? Anybody, any big history buffs here? Well, it actually originated as Armistice Day. And wow, this is crazy. November 11th, 1919. Today's 11/11. It's a sign. Where are the Pleiadians? They're coming. We were talking to Adam earlier. He's like, it's 11/11. Anybody give a numerology? Tell me what's going to happen later today. Tell me if the Saints are going to win. So 11/11, 1919. So wow, that will be 100 years next year, right? Is my math good enough for that? It was at the first anniversary of the end of World War I. I heard somebody say World War I. Yes, Mina said that. So it was the first year after World War I ended. Armistice Day began on November 11, 1919. Then Congress passed a resolution in 1926 for an annual observance. And November 11th became a national holiday beginning in 1938. So it's been around quite a while. 38 was, I'm not even trying to do the math, but it was a while back. It was before I was born, for sure. You think, oh man, the bank is closed. Somebody called me the other day and said, oh man, the bank's going to be closed Monday. I was like, if that's the worst thing that's happening to you, you're doing pretty good. But I would like to take a moment and to honor our veterans. If there's any, I know that we have a few here. Are there any veterans here? I'd like for you to stand so we can acknowledge you. Don't we have a few here?
Can we stand to somebody that we know that's a veteran?
Absolutely, if you'd like to do that. So we honor you and those that you're standing for as well over here. It's such a controversial thing if you remember, during the draft time and all that, how this is sometimes, it's just a controversial thing. War is. I mean, what can you say? However, whatever you think about it, these people, Rick that was standing, those that stood over here, were very brave in doing what they did. I know my dad served in the Army, and he didn't actually like to talk about it. Sometimes I wonder, what people see and how it affects them. I mean, we now know, of course, that people are definitely affected by that. We know about PTSD, et cetera now. But regardless of all that, we honor you and we bless you, and we're so grateful for your service, for those. So if you know someone later today that's a veteran, why don't you call them up? Take them some cash or take them out to lunch or something. But let's, remember that as the day goes on, just feeling gratitude. As I said, no matter what we feel about war, whatever we feel about that, at this point it doesn't matter because these people are very brave, courageous, wonderful people that have done a great service for our country. And so maybe think about that during the day and be grateful. You can still go do your shopping sales. I'm sure there's Veterans Day shopping sales. And, this is the time when all the new cars come out, so I start getting car fever. Have you noticed that? We're getting rid of the 2018s, making way for the 2019s. Come get your deal. Anybody else get car fever sometimes at this time of year? So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about today. One is about peace, just a little bit about peace, and another part, once again, talking about stillness and silence. I think that we can't, it's kind of a paradox, but we can't talk about stillness enough and silence enough. And as many of you know, the reason that we have a time of meditation during our service is because I think that is the most important thing we can do in our spiritual path. And you've heard me talk about this a lot. I can stand here and say something, and hopefully sometimes I say things that are inspiring to you, or maybe make you laugh, or make you think about something, or make you feel good, or challenge your thinking. But in the end, we really find our true, deepest nature beyond words, in the stillness, in the silence, in the place where we are actually able to remove ourselves, at least temporarily, from the world and all of the crazy stuff that seems to go on. Because I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that things here are temporary. Like when I watch people, as we see things in politics or we see people in business, and it's okay to be successful, I'm not saying anything about that, but sometimes I wonder why people claw so hard and are so driven to make something happen in a world that's temporary that they're eventually going to lose. There's an old play, some of you may have seen it, called You Can't Take It With You, an old theater show, and it talked about this. It had all these crazy characters, and one hid his IRS returns in the refrigerator and all these crazy people. But it was about this whole thing about anything that you have in this moment, whatever is in your bank account, whatever kind of car you drive, whatever condition your body is in, it's all going to go away. It's all going to disappear, all of it. And for many things that we see in this world, we should be grateful that they're temporary. And war is one of them. War is one of them. There will be some point that there will be no war when we come to peace within ourselves. But no matter what we do, no matter what books we are inspired to read, all those things are helpful, but it's so imperative to spend time in the silence and in the stillness. And I don't know if you are like this or not, but I've been actively meditating for about 25 years, about that long, and I still have problems moving into silence. Anybody else have problems? Do things come up in your mind? There's somebody here, and I won't name names, but said, I don't like that we have meditation during service. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, when I get quiet, everybody that I hate comes up. I said, well, that's interesting. I said, maybe that's something to look at. And then I thought about what was said, and I thought, well, it's really true for all of us, maybe not to that extreme, but I know for me that I find out whenever I start to move downward into that spiral of stillness, and I allow my body to relax and allow myself to be still, I realize that there's so many things underneath there that I've been suppressing, that I was afraid to look at. And I believe that sometimes that's why it's so hard to move into the silence, because we create noise and busyness to avoid ourselves. Are there any overworkers, workaholics? That's what I believe that is about. I know a couple people, even in my family, that are workaholics. And when I look, and it's not a judgment, it's not saying it's good or bad, but I realize that, especially one I'm thinking of, I know that she works
a lot because she's avoiding having to sit and be with herself. Sometimes we really have to make strides and effort in our life, depending on how our mind was conditioned when we were children, to become comfortable in our own skin. I mean, I just turned 55, and once again, thank you everybody. I still have all my birthday cards up, which like 95% were cats, which was fine, but I still have my birthday cards up, and it just brings me joy. I've got to take them down at some point. I guess by Christmas I'll take them down, but I still have them on the mantle in my house. And I just look at them and I just feel the love from everybody that is here, and so grateful for that. But here now at 55 years old, which I don't think is old, I still feel like I'm 15, and sometimes act like it. I still have problems really moving into that space of complete stillness, where there's absolutely nothing there, and become transcendent to where I'm completely unaware of my surroundings, or unaware of my the situation, unaware of time. Have you ever had one of those really, really great meditations where it just happened and like an hour passed and you had no idea? Like you just kind of open your eyes and you're like, wow, what just happened? And the reason it feels that way is you literally in that moment become timeless. You become in a sense of timelessness, away from your body, and that's why it feels like there's no time. So when I did my first New Thoughts CD, it took a year to make it because I OCD'd over everything, if you can imagine that. I was much more perfectionist then than I am now. I've kind of let stuff go. And I worked on that thing 24/7 for a year, just obsessing over all the instruments and my voice and adding stuff to it. And man, it was exhausting. When that year was over, I was like, I never want to hear these songs again. And the thing was, no one else had heard the song, so when the CD came out, they wanted me to sing them all the time, so I had to start singing them. And I still love those songs. And my song In the Silence, some of y'all know, and the one called Hands of Grace, some of you have heard. It's all part of that CD. It took a really long time to make that happen. The second CD that I made, it happened so beautifully, and it goes right with the idea that I'm talking about, in being in the silence. A really good friend of mine, Donna Michael, who's a minister, and she is involved with the Center for Spiritual Living in Nashville, Tennessee. Her and her husband own this beautiful recording studio with this gorgeous Yamaha grand piano that actually had been owned by and played on a lot, and songs written by Bruce Hornsby, if anybody's familiar with him. Just magnificent. They had a song, he had a group called Bruce Hornsby and the Range called That's Just the Way It Is, Some Things Will Never Change. Anyway, I appreciate his piano playing. He's this magnificent musician. So that piano, her husband, my friend Donna, her husband, bought that for their anniversary. So that was there. And they had just bought in the studio this surround sound system that they were going to experiment. Her husband's a total geek, out of the world geek. He just loves fiddling and making and putting up speakers and just all those kind of things. So anyway, I did music at their wedding, and in exchange for me doing that, because I wouldn't take any money because they're dear friends and I sang at their wedding, they said, why don't you come use the studio? We need someone to try out this new piano and see what it sounds like with this new system. I was like, wow, this sounds really exciting. So what I decided to do was not plan it, which to me this was terrifying, to not plan what I was going to do. I went that day. The only thing we knew was that the piano was there, all these new beautiful mics and all these jigglebobs were everywhere, and we lit some candles. And I had like an idea of like a note or something I'd start on. And so what we were planning to do is I was going to make a piano CD that people could meditate to or do classes by or whatever, and that had no singing on it, which was very different from the first one. So I sat down at the piano, I just surrendered, and I started playing. And they were running, I mean, you don't use tape anymore, but you picture they were running the tape.
And I just played, and I played, and I just, at some point I stopped and I looked up, and an hour and 4 minutes had passed. And my friend Donna and the engineer were sitting in the control booth. That's the area where you sit with all the equipment, and everyone's like this. And I'm like, what just happened? And it was one of those rare moments where for an entire hour, I literally went into another transcendent space and place that I can't even describe. And the beautiful thing and the benefit of it was I did that with this instrument that has been part of my life, an extension of myself since I was 3 years old, the piano. And there were I remember kind of coming to in a couple of places because I wanted to make space in case I messed up, that we could edit it, but I didn't have to do that. And to this day, that CD is my best-selling CD. It's sold quite a few copies all over the world. It's called Melt Into Nothingness because that's what I felt like happened. And we didn't edit one thing on it. And contrasting that, that's why I told the story at first. So the other CD took a year of me torturing myself and torturing everyone within 20 feet from me. I mean, I was a booger to be around when I was in the studio. Everybody's like, stay away from Jack. It's beyond hangry. He's like gone into another world. So that for a year, down to 1 hour of being in this transcendent place. And then the gift was music that was recorded permanently and imprinted, ended up being produced. And man, I wish every other project I did after that could have been that easy. But after I did that, it really impacted me in a way that I've never been impacted about silence and about my spiritual practice. Because as much as I encourage people to work on their spiritual practice, and I do myself, many times I give up. If I sit down and I plan to meditate or go into the silence, if I really don't get still within a few minutes, I just give up. Which, by the way, is the very worst thing to do. Because in the times that I didn't give up, and I stayed there, and just a few minutes later, I went into that beautiful place. Has anyone, do you know what I'm saying when you're able to get your mind completely clear to where there's absolutely nothing there? Has everyone experienced that before? Even if just for a moment, you know? I think the hardest thing is sustaining it. You know, it's sustaining it for longer than I have these moments that are just transcendent. And then I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And the minute you do that and try to grab it, it's gone. You know, it's kind of like water. Well, it is like water. If you put your hand in water, you feel it, and it feels beautiful, and it runs across your hand. And the moment you try to grab it, it's gone. And that's how stillness is. The worst thing you can do is try to grab it. And that's what I do. I mean, once I get in that beautiful space, I'm like, oh, wow, I want to keep doing that. There it went. You know, it's gone. But I believe that there's so much more to stillness than just being transcendent. I believe that we literally can find answers to any problems that we have. I think the worst thing to do if there's a big problem that you have in your life is to try to sit down and figure it out and think about it. I think that that really is one of the worst things you can do if you really want an answer. I believe that in something called the third answer. And say maybe you experienced this before but never called it that. A lot of times when we think, okay, there's a decision I have to make and there's black and white. And many times, Spirit or God or Charlie or whatever you want to call it has a third answer. Something that we never even thought of before. And it's not so easy as like it's that or that. And in the silence, sometimes that's when it shows up for us. That's where we get out of the nothingness. We literally pluck some beautiful solution to a problem we may have. So there's this really successful music producer named Rick Rubin who's produced so many different kinds of records from like
trying to think, from Guns N' Roses to a girl named Josh Stone. I mean, he's produced, I could name 20 people that you've heard of that he produced. And I watched the whole video on him talking about that he never goes into the recording studio without it being part of the process of meditating and stillness. Because the reason he said that is because the interviewer in an interview asked him, said, how do you get this brilliant music and how do you get all this wide, diverse group of artists, from like a jazz artist to a heavy rock band, heavy metal rock band? They're all so different. How do you do it? He said, well, I know that within me there is a genius. There is a genius. But that genius is not accessible in my normal state. That genius that produces this music is only accessible when I go into the stillness and become transcendent. That's where this comes from. This beautiful genius. And some of you, I know some of you may have experienced this before, where you're trying to solve something and work on something, and you finally just get exasperated and you just sit down and just relax and the answer comes to you. I mean, that happens all the time. So I think one of the masters of this, and you've heard me, I did a whole talk about him, I guess, it's probably been about 2 years ago, about the power of now, Eckhart Tolle. So, I mean, many of you have probably heard of him. He's got the Oprah treatment, so, once you get that, everybody knows who you are. Have you ever seen him speak live? I've seen him speak live a couple times. First of all, he's this little tiny thing. He looks like a munchkin. And sorry, Eckhart, but you do if you have to be watching. No judgment, munchkins are good. They helped Dorothy flee the witch, so it's all good. And to get used to him speaking when he speaks, first is off-putting because he doesn't speak like us. He speaks within the silence. You should watch him on YouTube. Obviously there's a lot of YouTube things. So he has no problem with waiting a very long time between words, which for us, we're used to filling the space with stuff. That's what feels comfortable to us. Do you notice that? And have you ever been in a group of people and if it's silent for just a moment, everybody becomes uncomfortable and somebody just tries to say something really quick? And why do we do that? I mean, why do we feel an urge to fill the space with something? What difference does it make? Why do we feel? Because I think we feel like if we're doing something and saying something, we're valuable or there's some reason for it. But Eckhart doesn't care about that because he had this transcendental experience where he became completely awake and enlightened overnight. And I talked about that in detail. You can read about it more. I won't take time to do that now because he was manic, depressive, suicidal. He had the whole list. He had to check, all of the depressive, psychological issues. And overnight, he became completely enlightened. And so he has no reason to fill the space. So whenever you watch him speak, he will say something, and then quite a bit of time can pass by before he says something else. So if you watch him, at first, you're like, come on, say it, come on. But if you really sit with it a while, you begin to see how beautiful it is. It's literally a different type of language. It's learning to speak within the silence. Learning to speak within the silence. It's a way of being present to where we actually take the silence and the stillness, and instead of it just being a one-time thing while we meditate or when we're here together or we have spiritual practice, that we actually carry it with us as a way of life. Stillness can actually be a way of life. I believe in the future, as we continue to evolve and become more awake, or whatever you want to call it, enlightened, it's all the same thing, just remembering who we are, that people will look back and think it's kind of funny that we would go take a moment. Let's take a moment and meditate. Because what they will be doing is living a life of meditation. That every step they take will be a meditation, and every word they say will be a meditation.
and they will actually live in the silence. It sounds awesome to me. Because I know when I live in the silence that I don't think about the past as much. And I don't worry about the future as much. I mean, that's why Eckhart Tolle called his book The Power of Now, because that was the most important and vital thing that happened to him when he became awake, was that he was only now, here, living in the stillness. I know when I've tried it before, and I have done it for certain periods of time, everything just looks different and feels better, and I'm less anxious, and I just am more relaxed when I'm just present. Because when you live in the silence, you actually become more present in your body and in yourself and in the world. And only then can you be of great service to others. Whenever I have visited people in the hospital or someone that's really sick, once again, don't you think it's funny that when we go to see someone that's sick, we want to fill the words and say something like, oh, well, you're looking good, it's okay, I hope you're okay, blah, blah, how are you feeling? You know, that awkward kind of thing if you go sit with someone that's maybe ill in the hospital or can't get up. We want to fill the space with some kind of words, you know, that normally, like, oh, I completely understand, and they're like, no, you don't, you know. We just want to fill that space. And I have found that the best gift that I can give people when I visit them, or if I'm just sitting with someone, it doesn't have to be visiting the hospital, is to give them my presence. It's the greatest gift that you can give someone. And you can only do that when you live from the silence. It is an art learning to live from the silence and live within the silence. Because presence can do something that words can't do at all. It can literally shift the energy of an entire room. I think that's what celebrities have, whether it's good or bad or whatever, is that something within them has learned to be so present that then when they walk in the room, everyone looks that way. Just because they're so present within themselves. I spend a lot of time during the day trying to recapture all the parts of myself that have been scattered all around. You know what I'm talking about. Have you ever gotten in the middle of the day and you feel like you're in a million different places at once? You're doing one thing, you're thinking about the next thing, you're just all over the place, and we literally have to take some time and start grabbing all of those parts of ourselves and bring it to ourselves so we become whole and we become present and we are just here in the stillness. And what a gift not to think about the past or the future. That is our biggest nemesis if we want to be peaceful, is trying to live in the past or being worried or upset about the future. So to close, I wanted to read a few things that Eckhart said that are just beautiful. This comes from The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. You are awareness disguised as a person. Very simple but beautiful. You, and you, and you, and you are awareness disguised as a person. You were never a person. You were never a body. You are awareness disguised as a person. Awesome. He also says, emotions arise in the place where your mind and body meet. And what he means there, if you've read the book, is that emotions come from the place where you have the body and all the things going on, and then you have your emotions, and you have your mind, and you have all this stuff going on. And the emotions that we feel, whether it's anger or upset or happy, come at that really vital place where the mind and body meet and intersect. That's where our emotions come from. He also says this, where there is anger, there is always pain underneath. When there's anger, there's always pain underneath. I tell you, reading some of Myrtle Fillmore's writings, and she talked about seeing the Christ in people, and also Course in Miracles says it really beautifully, that says you're never attacked by anyone. Anyone's just giving you love, or they're crying for help. All of those emotions spring from fear, jealousy, anger, envy,
All of that comes from fear that happens when we forget who we are. So he's reminding us where there's anger, there's always pain underneath. And guess what? Anger is never about you. If someone's angry and you think they're angry at you, it is never, ever about you. It is only about them. And when we begin to know that, we're able to be more helpful to people. Just a few more. I love this one. This is what I talk about, just step back and relax when something happens and breathe. He says, accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. And I know this is true because I have experienced it. So once again, accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. So I would say this week, maybe think about this more than you normally do. If you want a little homework, think about how much time you spend in the silence. But more importantly, become aware of how much you're staying present within yourself. How much you're being present and being here and being now. Just become aware of that and realize how transformative it is when we allow ourselves to become present and to live in the stillness. So a life of stillness sounds awesome to me, I have to say. Because I know what happens with just a glimpse of it. In those special times, like when I recorded that CD, I know what can happen with just a moment of silence or an hour of silence. So the idea of living in the stillness just seems amazing and awesome. So this morning, as we continue on our journey of becoming aware and awake, may we spend as much time as possible settled into the stillness, into the silence, looking past the temporary, all of those things that we see that will pass away, realizing that who we are is awareness disguised as a person. Who we are is the very presence and love of God. Our body is simply a vehicle that moves us through this experience. And when we become present within ourselves, so shall we serve others more deeply and are available to be there when help is needed. So once again, let's just take a moment, breathing in, feeling grateful. Thank you, God, for continuing to remind us, continuing to awaken us to our true nature. May our eyes open more fully. May our hearts open more fully. As we live in the stillness, as we rest in the silence. You are always guided, always protected, safe, held in the hands of grace, forever safe in the arms of love.
for this, we say, thank you, God. And so it is. And so as we breathe in, still being present here in this time and place, we feel gratitude for this magnificent place we call Unity of Metairie. Our spiritual family, our spiritual home, a place we can hardly even imagine being without. And we're grateful that everyone that has come before us through these doors and everyone that shall walk through, we are grateful. And so now we take time to give and support this idea of creating a world that works for everyone. For we are a safe haven, a place where anyone can come and be exactly who they are, wherever they may be on their spiritual path. So we give this morning with an open heart, a mind awakening to the truth of our prosperity and abundance, knowing that there is a flow of abundance in this world. It is the natural way. So we release all resistance to that flow, accepting the good. Through this presence called life, this presence called God. And we bring our offering forward as an act of faith. Drop it in the basket there. If anyone would like to give electronically with a credit or debit card, you can see me after the service. I can take care of that then. I'd also like to invite anyone that's watching us today. We're so grateful that you joined us through streaming, through technology, on Facebook. If you would also like to support our ministry and support our magnificent spiritual family, you can simply look at the post beyond the post you're looking at. And there's a one-click link there that you can give securely and easily. And we are grateful to everyone that's watching today that supports our spiritual family. So we give today knowing that we are blessed. We give today knowing that we are always taken care of. It doesn't always feel that way, it doesn't always look that way, but we are always taken care of. And so join me now in giving as we sing together. Join me. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. We can say we are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. Thank you, everyone that gives to support our spiritual community. Thank you. And so it is. So so just a few things before we head out. Today is our quarterly town hall meeting. Everyone is welcome to stay. You know, we have monthly board meetings that everyone is welcome to attend. All of our board meetings are open to our members and otherwise and our friends. And today is, we do this every quarter where if you would like to stay, you can actually participate in the board meeting and give any thoughts or ideas that you may have, any suggestions, any complaints, anything you might want to say. This is your chance for your voice to be heard. So please join us after the service. We have some sandwiches and some snacks. If you would like to have a little snack before we start that. Are we going to have lunch? We can have lunch much for anyone that would like to go.
So anybody wants to come over, going to Reginelli's on Clearview.
Okay, Reginelli's. If you want to choose that, there will be others at Reginelli's. I guess you'll get there around 12:30 or so. Yeah, whenever. Yes. So anyway, if you'd like to stay for the board meeting and then maybe even go meet at Reginelli's later, because we're going to involve everyone with the town hall at the beginning of the board meeting, so you don't have to stay for the entire thing if you would choose not to. But please stay if you would like. We'd love to hear your voice and hear what you have to say. Once again, everyone knows, just a reminder, Wednesday night is our Faith Lift night. This week, I am going to be out of town, so we will not be meeting for those groups. We may have meditation, so please watch Facebook. It depends on when our wonderful Bill is feeling better enough. Man, do I miss him. Bill is such a gift to our congregation. He's still just feeling a little bit low, and he's doing okay. Some people were asking earlier, it's like, it's been so long. He's just needing some time to finish his recovery, but man, do we miss him. I know that I do. If Bill is here, we will be able to have meditation, but as it stands at this point, we will not meet Wednesday night. But watch on Facebook and so you can know if you'd like to come to meditation. What do we have for Tuesday night?
Tuesday night we're
Ms.
going
Brenda?
to do the stages of forgiveness. And with the holidays coming up, I think this would be a good class because, you know, these things always come up during the holidays. People that we have, you know, might have had conflict with and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do the stages of forgiveness. And hopefully it can help some people maybe go through. You can identify what stage you're in, and then, you know, you might not get through all the stages, but maybe just recognizing where you are and accepting that may help you to move towards forgiving those and maybe yourself as well.
Awesome, thank you. We appreciate Paul and Brendan and all the classes. Man, they're always coming up with something great every Tuesday night. And anyone watching on Tuesday night, if you'd like to come to the class, it's Stages of Forgiveness. And Brenda just mentioned that this is a good time, especially during the holidays. Sometimes some intense emotions come up around our family. And fortunately, my family is like drama-free, so I'm headed to the beach. I mean, I'll be here on Sundays, but I'm living on the beach in all of December. So, but it is a time when it comes up, some things can come up for us. Not only with the holidays, but just with anything in our life that we need to release. So join them on Tuesday night. Special guest will be here December 2nd. Please spread the word. Christy Snow, who's known actually all around the world. She's traveled here in Canada and even beyond. She's a master Native American flute player. She's an extraordinary speaker. She's going to be sharing the Sunday morning music and the Sunday morning talk, and she will be doing a concert right after of her original music, and she will knock your socks off. So please spread the word. The first Sunday in December, please make sure and be here for that. As always, we're giving to Second Harvest Food Bank. We talked about last week anything that might be good for holiday meals. I don't know, like stuffing, anything that's non-perishable. Bring that, and we will make sure that they get that by the end of the month for November. And maybe we can take some of the holiday things for Thanksgiving as well. Can you believe Thanksgiving is like 2 weeks from Thursday? What has happened? I thought it was like summer.
1 week from Thursday.
Is it 1 week from Thursday?
It's always the fourth.
Oh man, I totally lost another week. My goodness. So it's a week from Thursday. Man, that is crazy. How did that happen? I must have been meditating this whole time. Because it was like, have I been meditating since the summer and didn't know it? Darn.
November 1st was a Thursday.
Oh, so November 1st was the Thursday, so it made it kind of maybe later, I guess, huh?
As early as it could be.
As early as it could be. All right.
Well, it's coming up. So help if you can, support Second Harvest Food Bank. We can make sure people that are hungry in our area can have some food. We do have the new daily word for November and December. That's out in the Welcome Center, just $5. Get a daily dose of inspiration. Wonderful way to start out your day. As I mentioned before, just living in the stillness. I encourage all of us to have some spiritual practice we have in the morning. I know for me, that's the vital point to get the day rolling right. If I don't get it going early in the morning, then I'm just on the crazy train for most of the day. So, what were you gonna say? Something?
Next week will be Waffle Sunday.
Next week is Waffle Sunday, woohoo! Which will be at 9:30. If you were here last time, those waffles were so delicious. So come about an hour or half an hour before service, and we will have waffles.
Gluten-free waffles for those who cannot eat regular.
There will be gluten-free waffles. So yes. So thank you for that. I did want to mention too, some of you, I mention this every now and then, especially now for the holidays, we are part of the Amazon Smile program. So as you Christmas shop, anybody that buys stuff on Amazon, we've actually made some nice little checks from this, so we appreciate everyone that's done it. Watching on Facebook as well, you just go to Amazon, but you go to smile.amazon.com. So smile.amazon.com, you can find us as a charity. You scroll down, Unity Church of Metairie, and then whatever you buy, we get a percentage of. You don't have to pay more, but we get a percentage of it, and then they direct deposit it. It's a great way for us to make some extra money. So smile.amazon.com, go in there and shop till you drop, and we get benefit from that. Something else was going on my mind, and I can't think of what it was. I guess it wasn't that important. Oh, I know what it was. So Ken and Carla graciously started a keyboard fund. We would love to buy a nice keyboard that belongs to the church that we can have right here all the time, not only for myself, but when we have guests come in like John Scott who's saying, where's the keyboard, So there's a box out here. Anything that you can contribute would be great. There's a box out in the Welcome Center, and it says under it, I think it says Jack Fowler Keyboard Fund. Carla and Ken graciously started out with a seed money of $100. Anything that you can give would be helpful. If you want to match that or more, or if you can only get 5, it doesn't matter. So please help us out with that. And once again, just gratitude and gratefulness to our veterans. We are so grateful to you for serving, and thank you for all that you've done. And may we think about people that we know and others that are veterans today and throughout the week. So we're going to, speaking of John Scott, we are going to end with his awesome song, All Is Well, Life is Good. Let's stand together. And this great acclamation of faith that no matter what is happening in our life, that all is well, life is good, and we are truly, truly blessed. Join us in song this morning.
All is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed.
You're sounding good.
All is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed.
I'll let light shine.
I'll let light shine, so that everyone can see. I'll let love divine daily flow through me, and all is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. Yeah. All is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed.
Help me be the change.
Help me be the change, for the change we want to see, and let harmony flow through me, and all is well, life is good, and I am truly blessed. Yeah, and all is well, life is good, and I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good, I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good, I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good, I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good, I am
I'll let light shine.
I'll let light well, all is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. Yes, I am. And all is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. I am truly blessed. I am truly blessed.
All right. And just a few other things. Thank you once again. I forgot to thank everyone watching up on Facebook. If you would like to support us, just simply go to the link below what you're watching. You can give there. And a reminder, if anyone would like to give with a credit card today, to see me after service and we can work that out. So we're going to say our prayer of protection today as we go out to the day. Everyone is welcome to stay here with us for our town hall meeting. Right after service, have some sandwiches. So we say together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Yes, it is. Thank you, girls, for singing. That's awesome.
Thank you. Nothing great.
Yes.
During church and during. I'm drinking enough water. I'm timing. I don't drink enough water, and I try to drink enough water, but it's an effort.
I don't remember if you like to leave the piano one in place. Or
No, only thing to leave up is just the music. I'll take down the laptop and stuff when we're done.
I feel joy, I feel peace.